In 24 hours, you'll be hooked on this Korean manhwa masterpiece. Have you ever stumbled upon a manhwa so interesting it's all you can think about for days? Well, buckle up my fellow manhwa enthusiasts, because I'm about to introduce you to a Korean comic that will have you hooked in just 24 hours. This is a story you will not want to miss. Number 10 on my must-read manhwa list is Hiding a Logistics Center in the Apocalypse. This is the story of Jong-yeom, a guy who finds himself trapped in a warehouse during a full-blown apocalypse. But get this, he unlocks a wild ability to store anything in a parallel dimension. Talk about a handy superpower when the world is overrun by terrifying monsters, right? As Jong-yeom ventures into the ravaged city of Seoul to find his family, he encounters all sorts of other survivors and even more mysterious creatures. The character development is on point, the action is thrilling, and the art is just top-notch. Plus, the MC's necromancer abilities add a super cool, unique element to the story. If you're craving a manhwa that's got it all, drama, adventure, horror, and even a touch of humor, Hiding a Logistics Center in the Apocalypse is an absolute must-read. Trust me, once you start, you will not be able to put it down. Number 9 on my must-read manhwa list, Why I Quit Being the Demon King, follows the one and only Demirgo's the 666th, also known as Deuce. He's the 666th reincarnation of the Demon King, destined to battle a pure-blood warrior every century to free his demon brethren from hell. But instead of waiting around, this clever Demon King escapes 20 years early to try and forge a new life among the humans. Talk about a wild premise, right? What makes this manhwa so darn entertaining is the perfect blend of action, drama, and gut-busting comedy. The characters are all super well developed, and the art is top-notch. Plus, the concept of a Demon King trying to live a normal life is just comedy gold. If you're in the mood for a manhwa that's equal parts thrilling and hilarious, Why I Quit Being the Demon King is definitely the one for you. This thrilling manhwa lands at number 8 on my must-read list, and for good reason. It takes place in a world where an apocalyptic event known as the Era of Adventure has left everyone hopeless and desperate. But just when all seems lost, one brave adventurer named Elpam refuses to go down without a fight. The art in this manhwa is absolutely stunning, with detailed, high fantasy landscape and creatures that will have your jaw on the floor. But what really sets the last adventurer apart is the incredible character development. Elpam is no pushover. He's cunning, ruthless, and also has a heart of gold. And the bromance that develops between him and his ally, Debo, is the stuff of legend. If you're craving a manhwa that's got it all, meaning epic world building, jaw-dropping action, and characters that will stick with you long after you've put it down, then The Last Adventurer is an absolute must-read. Trust me, you'll be hooked from the very first chapter. This one's number 7 on my must-read list, and it's called Legend of the Reincarnated Demon God. The story follows Yeon Won-hui, a dude known by some seriously wild nicknames like the Great Sorcerer of Dark Arts and the King of the Wandering Lost Souls. Man, this guy was living large as the junior lord of the Heavenly Demon Cult, using his wicked dark art skills and downright terrifying personality to keep everyone in line. But just when he's got it all, he gets betrayed in a brutal coup. Now, instead of staying dead, Yeon Won-hui reawakens in the body of Tang Won-hui, an illegitimate son of the powerful Tang clan. But this guy doesn't let a little thing like reincarnation slow him down. He's on a mission to track down his old cult, rebuild his power base, and get his revenge. Trust me, it is a wild ride from start to finish. If you're craving a manhwa with an anti-hero protagonist, jaw-dropping dark magic, and a whole lot of chaos, Legend of the Reincarnated Demon God is an absolute must-read. You'll be hooked from the very first chapter. Number 6 on my must-read manhwa list, this story follows the one and only Kyle. a guy who was actually the legendary hero who defeated the ultimate evil back in the Age of Despair. But get this, despite his epic heroics, Kyle doesn't get a single mention in the history books. Nada. Zilch. All of his fellow heroes are hailed as legends, while poor Kyle here is treated like total fiction. Understandably ticked off, Kyle decides to enroll in Lumine Academy, the very school that houses the sacred hero record that somehow left him out. His mission? To figure out why the heck he's been erased from history and get the recognition he deserves. Rightfully so. It's a wild premise filled with humor, mystery, and plenty of surprises along the way. If you're craving a manhwa that's equal parts thought-provoking and hilarious, the legendary hero is an Academy Honors student is an absolute must-read. Trust me, you'll be hooked from the very first chapter. Number 5 on my must-read list is a Dragon Slayer's Peerless Regression. And trust me, this one's a wild ride. The story follows Zeke Draker, who comes from a long line of legendary Dragon Slayers. But there's just one problem: Zeke himself has the talent of a healer, not of a swordsman. Naturally, his family kicks him to the curb. Determined to prove his worth, Zeke tries to get stronger, but tragically meets his end. Just when all hope seems lost, something incredible happens. Zeke wakes up 20 years in the past, back in the very family that abandoned him. But this time, he's got a crazy new power. The soul of an elder dragon is now engraved on his very will. Talk about a game changer, am I right? If you're craving a manhwa with a super-powered protagonist, epic fantasy battles, and a whole lot of heart, a Dragon Slayer's Peerless Regression is an absolute must-read. Trust me when I say this, that you'll definitely be hooked from the very first chapter. This manhwa lands at number 4 on my must-read list, and for good reason. It follows Gamin, a student at the notorious Yusong Technical High School, which is basically the school for future criminals. But Gamin's got one goal: get into university. The only problem? He keeps getting rejected from every study group imaginable. That is, until he decides to form his own group and ropes in his former tutor, Hankyong, who's now a student at the same school. From there, it's a wild roller coaster of epic fights, cringeworthy teachers, and plenty of heartwarming moments. The logic might not always add up, but the pure entertainment factor more than makes up for it. If you're craving a manhwa that's equal parts hilarious and heartfelt, Study Group is an absolute must-read. Get ready to be hooked from the very first chapter. It's time to dive into something truly wild. Killer Peter is number 3 on my must-read list. The story follows Peter, a legendary killer who's finally decided to hang up his proverbial hat and retire. He's traded in his past for a quiet life running a used bookstore. But just when he thinks he's out, they pull him back in. After being ambushed by his former organization, Peter finds himself magically reverted to his teenage years. And, as you can imagine, he's not happy about it. But don't you worry, our boy Peter isn't going down without a fight. With his peak physical condition restored, he's on a mission to settle the score once and for all. And let me tell you, this guy is no slouch. He can take down over 100 men with his bare hands. Talk about a total badass. If you're craving a manhwa with a crazy powerful protagonist, over-the-top action, and a whole lot of intrigue, Killer Peter is an absolute must-read. Trust me when I say this, the first chapter will hook you right in. Get ready for a tale of swords, sorcery, and second chances. It's time to dive into Zord Masters' youngest son, number 2 on my must-read list. This story follows Jinrun Candle, a guy who was supposed to be the head honcho of his Zord Master clan. But there's just one problem. He's, well, kinda terrible at swordsmanship. Long story short, he gets banished but then makes a deal with a god to break the curse that was holding him back. Sounds like a happy ending? Nope. Poor Jin ends up meeting an untimely demise. But here's where things get really interesting. Jin gets a do-over, reawakening as a baby before all the tragedy even started. Armed with his newfound godly powers and a second chance, Jin is determined to become the ultimate Zord Master and fulfill his destiny. It's a wild ride with jaw-dropping art, intense training montages, and plenty of surprises along the way. If you're craving a manhwa with a protagonist who's on a mission to level up, Zord Masters' youngest son is an absolute must-read. I've got the cream of the crop right here. Number 1 on my must-read list is the highly anticipated sequel to the legendary Solo Leveling Ragnarok. In this mind-blowing continuation, the stakes have been raised to a whole new level. The Absolute Ones, the creators of many universes, are scrambling to find the power void left by one of their own. And guess who's been chosen to take on this monumental task? None other than our boy Sung Soo-ho, the legendary Shadow Monarch himself. With Earth endangered once again as monsters pour in through the gates, Soo-ho must conquer the Shadow Dungeon and tap into his father's legendary legacy to become powerful enough to defend our world. And let me tell you, the power scaling in this manhwa is off the charts. We're talking godlike abilities, epic team-ups, and a breakneck pace that will have you on the edge of your seat. If you're craving a manhwa that's bursting with action, jaw-dropping visuals, and a protagonist who's about to level up in a major way, Solo Leveling Ragnarok is an absolute must-read. Alrighty, manhwa maniacs, that's all I've got for you today, but remember, in 24 hours, you're gonna be hooked on this Korean manhwa masterpiece. Don't miss out, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out. Also, subscribe, don't forget that, it helps.